Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for this short delay and welcome at the press conference that follows the European Union-Armenia Partnership Council that met for the second time here in Brussels today. High Representative Vice President Federica Mogherini and Foreign Minister of Armenia Zorab Natsakanyan will say a few words as means of introduction and then we'll have time for a couple of questions. High Representative, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to welcome back to Brussels Foreign Minister Zorab. Welcome back. And also all this delegation and this team today for the second meeting of the European Union-Armenia Partnership Council. Since our first meeting in this format that happened 1 year ago, the European Union-Armenia cooperation has advanced very well, with a particular focus on the implementation of our agreement, our comprehensive and enhanced partnership agreement. This agreement can play a very important role in the modernization of Armenia, including by introducing European Union norms in many sectors. Armenia has recently prepared a roadmap that we discussed today to implement this agreement. We see that it can usefully underpin and support reforms in Armenia, so we will further support its implementation on our side with technical assistance and capacity building. The European Union is paying a special attention to the judicial reform that we also discussed at length today. We support the ongoing work aiming at a comprehensive judicial reform in Armenia in line with the Armenian constitution and with international standards. An independent, efficient and accountable judiciary benefits all. It contributes to the protection of human rights and to a business environment favorable to economic development and foreign investment. Following the launch of an Armenia-European Union dialogue on judicial reform in September last year, the European Union is ready to provide substantial support to this key reform based on a comprehensive and ambitious justice reform strategy. Our joint work and cooperation obviously does not stop here. This is only one side of our good cooperation. The European Union is identifying funding possibilities for the priority projects that Armenia has recently presented to the European Commission. These priority projects concern many different fields, such as women participation, energy efficiency and interconnections, ID cards, police reforms, and infrastructures. The European Union has earmarked more than 160 million euros in bilateral assistance for Armenia for the years 2017-2020. Based on the country's performance and democratic reforms during last year, the European Union will allocate an additional 25 million euros this year, bringing the total allocation for this year to 65 million euros to support Armenia in its reforms and in implementing effectively our agreement. With these funds, we will seek to maximize the impact of reforms and obviously to improve the living conditions of the citizens and to do it in a visible and tangible manner. Our council today, our partnership council today, also stressed the importance of continued work towards implementing the Eastern Partnership and in particular the deliverables we have identified for next year, the 2020 deliverables, including in the field of rule of law, governance and the fight against corruption. We also discussed the peaceful resolution of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. The conflict needs an early political settlement and the European Union continues to fully support the mediation efforts and the proposals of the OSCE Minsk Group co-chairs, including through the work of our special representative. We call on the sides to strictly respect the ceasefire, follow up on the commitments undertaken by their leaders and the foreign ministers at recent meetings under the auspices of the co-chairs, and engage on substantive issues. And as usual, we stand ready to support measures aimed in particular at overcoming the conflict divide and contributing to preparing the populations for peace. On regional issues, we took a lot of time. A large part of our agenda was dedicated to regional and international issues. We also reiterated today the European Union commitment to support the normalization of relations between Armenia and Turkey, called on both sides to continue to engage in this process without preconditions. We discussed the situation in Syria. We gave our strong backing to the work of the UN Special Envoy for the resumption of intra-Syrian talks in Geneva, and both the European Union and Armenia today confirmed their continued commitment to the full and effective implementation of the Iran Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the nuclear deal with Iran. I have no doubt that EU-Armenia relations and cooperation on many important issues, regional, international, but also bilateral, will further strengthen, based on our comprehensive and enhanced partnership agreement, but also based on our common interests and on our common values of democracy, rule of law, and respect of human rights. So I would like to thank very much the Minister and all his delegation for being in Brussels today again, for our excellent meeting, for very constructive discussions today, and for our very good cooperation in this months. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Matsakanyan.
Thank you very much, and High Representative Mogherini, dear Federica, once again, thank you very much indeed for the very warm welcome. We had a very productive discussion today within the second meeting of the Armenia-EU Partnership Council. We have shared ideas on a wide variety of issues, ranging including political matters, regional issues, sectoral cooperation, development within the Eastern Partnership. We once again underscored the fact that our comprehensive partnership is based on shared values and a strong commitment to uphold them. Relations are grounded in both our common civilizational heritage and our mutual aspirations for building strong democracies with sustainable institutions and resilient, sustainable societies. We have also touched on the developments throughout the year in Armenia, and I reflected on the various measures, various policies taken by the government on addressing head-on, addressing corruption, addressing the important priority of providing a level playing field, equal opportunities for all in economic, social life, and implementing specific policies on that. We have shared also some statistics with our colleagues in the European Union about the way in which our policies have been reflecting on the economy, and our commitment to carry on with the deep commitment to carry on with the reforms which stem from the very spirit and the very nature of the Velvet Revolution that took place last year in April and May 2018. I have also reflected on the very big priority of judicial reform in Armenia, which takes up a very important place in our domestic agenda, and underlined the importance of our cooperation to this end. We took stock of the developments since the first Partnership Council, also in the context of the mutual high-level visits. I would recall that we had a very important visit bilateral visit in March. The Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan was visiting Brussels, and I want to again recall the importance of this visit and the importance of the agreements we have reached during this visit, including on the deepening of our relations in specific areas and the specific projects we have agreed we will be pushing forward together for the development of Armenia. And also those I want to reflect also on the elections that took place in Armenia in December 2018, and that these elections were absolutely critical. They were recognized as genuinely free and fair by International Election Observation Mission, and most importantly, they were accepted by our public. And I once again want to express our appreciation to the European Union and its member states for the support rendered to us for the smooth organization of these elections. We also thoroughly discussed the implementation of the Comprehensive and Enhanced Partnership Agreement today. This Comprehensive Enhanced Partnership Agreement, in fact, is the constitution of our relations, in the framework of which we elaborated on our cooperation in political, justice, freedom, securities, human rights, development areas, as well as on our sectoral cooperation. such as trade, energy, transport, communication, environment, and so on. I want to take this opportunity to express our gratitude to the EU member states, to those EU member states who have already ratified the SEPA to date. And I would also, of course, take this opportunity to encourage the remaining member states to take further steps to accelerate their internal ratification procedures for the full entry into force of the comprehensive and enhanced partnership agreement. One of the most important results of the meeting today was that we have also discussed and agreed on the SEPA implementation roadmap. It is a carefully drafted planning document for us in Armenia, which will make the implementation and monitoring of the agreement well structured and well targeted. We also assessed the Armenia-EU partnership priorities, which is aimed at facilitating the further deepening of our relations. We have extensively discussed a number of important issues on the bilateral and international agenda and regional agenda in particular, on which Madam Mogherini has reflected upon, and which I fully second. We also exchanged views on the prospects of launching the Armenia-EU visa liberalization dialogue, which is an important mutual commitment reflected in various bilateral and multilateral agreements. We have been undertaking on our part as Armenia, we have been undertaking consistent steps towards the effective implementation of the visa facilitation and readmission agreements, and actively spurring the opening of the visa liberalization dialogue. We have been engaging for this purpose in a direct dialogue with member states, along of course with the engagement with the EU institutions. I would want to again underline, as we had reflected upon it during our meeting, that this is a very important issue in that it solidifies, it strengthens the nature of our relationship by way of bringing people together, and those people-to-people, the facilitation of people-to-people contact consolidates the depth of the relations we have with the European Union. In that, I see a very important political function of the free movement of our people and acceleration of the strengthening of the contact between our people. Connectivity and mobility, in that sense, have an important political significance. I would also add that we are looking forward to be judged on our own merit and not to be linked to other contexts. And I would also want to thank President of the Commission, President Juncker, for the very strong support that he has expressed also during the visit of the Prime Minister, at the meeting with the Prime Minister Pashinyan, and also during their joint press conference back in March. Another item on the discussion, another item we have discussed today was the Eastern Partnership 10th anniversary follow-up. Amongst the important achievements of the EAPs, its appreciation of the shared values, as well as the important contribution to sustainable development of our region and of our country. I'd like also to announce that we will, at the national level, we will make our own contribution to the 10th anniversary celebrations by launching an event in Armenia in October, on October 9th, which will be dedicated to a youth empowerment and innovation. And we, of course, we invite and look forward to welcome all our partners from amongst the EU member states and, of course, first of all, the Eastern Partnership member states. Today we also discussed the implementation of the 20 deliverables for 2020, and of course we also discussed the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, and I reiterated Armenia's commitment to the exclusively peaceful settlement of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict within the internationally mandated format of the OSCE Minsk Group Co-Chairmanship. The status of Artsakh, Nagorno-Karabakh and its security are the priorities of Armenia, in the negotiating process. For us, another important priority concerns staying focused on establishing and promoting an environment conducive to peace, strict adherence to a ceasefire regime, implementation of risk reduction measures against escalation remain very important priorities. Abandoning warmongering rhetoric and hate speech are critical conditions for progress in negotiations. We welcome and underline the importance of the EU's support to the Minsk Group co-chairs' efforts. We also acknowledge and appreciate the role the European Union plays in various ways to contribute to such environment, which helps progress with the negotiating process by way of various projects. And we also underline that such projects need to be very carefully targeted in that they genuinely serve the purpose of genuine people-to-people contact. Once again, I want to reiterate how deeply we appreciate the consistency of the European Union's position in supporting strictly the process strictly within the OSCE Minsk Group co-chairmanship, and the proposals and ideas generated within those within this format, within these negotiations. And we, of course, we have full confidence in the consistency of such consolidated support of the European Union. And we have also discussed that. So once again, thank you very much. I will now wrap up my notes by saying once again how much we appreciated the great cooperation we have with the High Representative and with the team of great friends and committed friends of Armenia who know Armenia very well and who have been the actual operators of what we call strong Armenia-EU relationship. And I also want to take the opportunity and thank my team, the team of Armenia's various representatives of our government at the level of deputy ministers and others who have also been working very hard throughout the year to substantiate the content of our relationship. And I want to thank you, Federica, for the spirit of friendship, for support and friendship, support, pragmatism, and that very strong commitment for the important priority for Armenia of our relations with the European Union. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The floor now goes to you. Please introduce yourself and the media you're working for before you ask your question. I see Yuri over there.
Thank you very much, Yuri Sheko, Deutsche Welle. My first question is to High Rep, Ms. Mogherini. So now you were able to observe the full year of work of the government that came after the revolution in Armenia. So could you compare its work to the previous governments, and have you seen some quality changes in that work? And the second question is to Minister. I know that it is traditional that Armenia is represented by Foreign Minister, by the partnership, by the Council, but have your Prime Minister, Mr. Pashinyan, considered to lead in delegation of Armenia to this Council? I mean, I presume it would have been quite symbolic to showing what are the priorities of your government in foreign policy. Thank you very much.
I can start first of all by saying nice try, but I would never compare one government with another, but I can definitely clearly and without any shadows assess the work we've done in this year and a couple of months of common work with the current authorities of the country that I can define as excellent ones. I believe there is no doubt, and I think it was clear from both our remarks and this day work, that in this last year, since last council meeting, we have advanced enormously. The implementation of our agreement is proceeding well. the dialogue and the cooperation and the partnership we have on all different issues, from international to regional to bilateral issues, is excellent. And we have also good plans for the future. So again, I would not compare, but I can assess that the work we're doing together today is excellent. Thank you.
Again, thank you very much. I would also echo that note that it was a nice try, in that Armenia does pay attention to form, but is very much focused on substance. And so far as form is concerned, I would repeat that we had a very dynamic year of exchanges and discussions at all levels with the direct engagement of the Prime Minister.
With visits.
And with visits. And it was a very busy year in that respect. And we're not going to stop. I'm just seeing the indication 3 visits of the Prime Minister. The bilateral visit was in March this year. Previously, there was a visit and a very, very strong engagement in Brussels in July 2018, when we had the engagement of all senior officials of the European Union, including President Tusk, President Juncker, and High Representative Mogherini. So I think the Prime Minister knows very well personally all the senior leadership of the European Union out of this very extensive, dynamic dialogue and engagement. So there is no question about that. So I mentioned also, I have to mention the engagement of the Prime Minister at the EAP 10 in May. That's so far as the Prime Minister is concerned. And so far as substance is concerned, I would also want to invite your attention to the way in which we have organized our work in terms of the implementation of what I call the constitutional framework of our relationship, which is the Comprehensive and Extended Partnership Agreement. And for that, we have a very important coordinating mechanism in Armenia, which is chaired by the Vice Prime Minister of Armenia, and which includes all the agencies and government agencies and ministries in a very extensive and very engaging work, the result of which is the roadmap, which I already call as the targeted structured document for targeted structured implementation of the SEPA. We are represented here by a huge number of colleagues from the line ministries, and this is the way we work, and this is the way we're consolidated in bringing meat and blood to what we call shared value-based relationship between Armenia and the European Union. So I think we have no deficit of knowing each other very well and working together in a very effective way to implement the important agenda we have before us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid this is all the time we have for, so I'll have to conclude. But just to underline that there is also a joint statement, press statement available on the website from the meeting. Thank you very much.
Das war da offiziell? Richtig schlauig.